And there is also this breaking headline in Virginia. Authorities confirming the deadly crash of a state police helicopter late today, 7 miles southwest of Charlottesville. 2 people on board that police chopper were killed. The helicopter was assigned to cover the protests in Charlottesville. An investigation is underway tonight. Good evening and thank you for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Cecilia Vega in for Tom Llamas. We begin tonight with that breaking news. A horrific scene in Charlottesville, Virginia. A white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence and chaos. The images just coming in, a car plowing into a crowd of demonstrators protesting against those white nationalists. A 32-year-old woman killed, a number of severe injuries, many life-threatening. A driver has been taken into custody. On the streets of Charlottesville today, the hate boiling over. White supremacists and counter fighting with fists and clubs. Flags on full display. The governor declaring a state of emergency, and that mayhem unfolded for hours before President Trump finally weighed in.
The hate and the division must stop, and must stop right now.
Police in riot gear struggled all day to prevent a full-blown explosion of violence. A warning, the images are graphic, and ABC's Eva Pilgrim starts us off in Charlottesville.
Tonight, panic and chaos in Charlottesville. A car plowing through counter-protesters down this crowded street. Protesters scrambling, the camera swinging wildly as the man taking this video tries to get out of the way.
The car just plowed through hundreds of people downtown Charlottesville.
15 seconds later, the car shifting in reverse, screeching back down that street to get away. Here's another eyewitness view. The silver Dodge Challenger with Ohio plates barreling down the hill. Witnesses say it only stopped after it hit a van and another car. Blocked in, the silver car went in reverse.
Hit like 2 or 3 other cars and pinned people in between the cars, smashed into people, and then it was like a great car with all tinted out windows, and then he reversed out of there as quick as possible. He got away.
Tonight, the driver of the car is in custody. 1 person killed, a 32-year-old woman, others taken to the hospital. We are told some have life-threatening injuries.
How close were you to the car?
I had to jump out of the way of it. So it already maybe hit a couple people, but the majority of people it hit was behind me. I turned and saw it.
People on the street frantically searching for their friends and family. Others carrying the hurt, searching for help.
Authorities right now, you can see, have this intersection blocked off. They are looking through the crowd, making sure that they have been able to find everyone in this area who was injured when those cars came through this intersection.
Ambulances racing in, paramedics running to the hurt, triaging the injured right on the ground.
Shoes all over the ground, pools of blood all over the ground, people screaming.
State police moving in, dressed in riot gear, blocking off the scene, clearing the crowd.
Just a horrific scene coming in. Eva Pilgrim joins us live from the scene. This is an active investigation and a very active scene we can see there behind you. Eva, what are we learning about that driver in custody?
Well, that driver was picked up just a short distance from the scene, not very far away at all. Witnesses telling us whoever the driver was, they did not hesitate. They put their foot on the gas and kept going. Cecilia.
Okay, Eva, and you'll be staying on this story for us. Thank you. That racism and hatred on the streets of Charlottesville simmering for 24 hours. It started with a planned Unite the Right rally where tempers flared. Today, images like this, a counter demonstrator face to face with white nationalists, an ignited spray can you can see right there in his hand. The confrontation began last night. White nationalists carrying torches, marching through a college campus, protesting the removal of a Confederate statue. The setting, a power keg ready to blow. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
A major American college campus transformed into a battlefield. 10 o'clock Friday night, hundreds of white nationalists storming the University of Virginia, protesting plans to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee.
Blood and soil!
Torches in hand, chants echoing across the historic campus.
You will not replace us!
Images showing the march spiraling out of control. So-called alt-right demonstrators clashing with counter-protesters, some swinging torches. Police dispersing the crowds, calling it an unlawful assembly. Several people injured and 1 person arrested, led away in handcuffs. Some in the crowd reportedly hit in the face with pepper spray. The overnight violence spilling into this morning when marchgoers and counter-protesters clash again, hours before the Unite to Right march was even set to begin. Just after 10:30 a.m., the crowd growing in size. New reports of injuries coming in. Local and state police in riot gear responding in force, but the violence escalating. Fights erupting between marchgoers and counter-protesters. Just before noon, Virginia's governor declaring a state of emergency, saying, "I am disgusted by the hatred, bigotry, and violence these protesters have brought to our state." But the situation escalating. Now chaos on the streets of Charlottesville. Protesters beating one another with sticks and metal rods. Police once again using pepper spray, trying to push demonstrators back, urging the crowd to disperse.
Leave the immediate area or you will be arrested.
As soon as I went up there, they ripped my flag off, tried to grab it. 3 or 4 people started hitting me with some kind of sticks.
Just before 2 p.m., the situation taking that deadly turn. Many leaders condemning the event overnight. The mayor of Charlottesville calling it racist and intolerant. The University of Virginia president calling it abhorrent. Cecilia.
Stephanie, thank you. And there is also this breaking headline in Virginia. Authorities confirming the deadly crash of a state police helicopter late today, 7 miles southwest of Charlottesville. 2 people on board that police chopper were killed. The helicopter was assigned to cover the protests in Charlottesville. An investigation is underway tonight. President Trump tonight, caught in the fallout of all of this, criticized for waiting hours before making his first comments about that violence in Charlottesville. First Lady Melania Trump weighed in before the president did, and it's not what he finally said, but what he didn't say that has critics and supporters alike so upset. ABC's David Wright is traveling with the president in Bridgewater, New Jersey.
We're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Today, the president finally did say the hate and division in Charlottesville has no place in America.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
But the president seemed to blame both the white nationalists and the counter-protesters equally. Many of the white nationalists who organized today's rally near a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee voted for Trump. Among them,
The communists attacked us.
former Klan leader David Duke. As these horrific scenes of hatred and violence played out, the first White House response came not from the president, but from the First Lady. "Our country encourages freedom of speech," she tweeted, "but let's communicate without hate in our hearts. No good comes from violence. #Charlottesville." President Trump waited another 40 minutes to weigh in himself, tweeting, "We all must be united and condemn all that hate stands for. There is no place for this kind of violence in America. Let's come together as one."
No matter our color, creed, religion, or political party, we are all Americans first.
The president's response took fire from all sides. The mayor of Charlottesville tweeted, "Thanks at long last for condemning hate in speech and action. Our work here is just beginning. Yours is too." Republican Senator Cory Gardner tweeted, "Mr. President, we must call evil by its name. These were white supremacists, and this was domestic terrorism." David Duke, not happy either. He tweeted at Trump, "I would recommend you take a good look in the mirror and remember it was white Americans who put you in the presidency, not radical leftists." Today, reporters sought to press the president further.
Mr. President, do you want the support of these white nationalist groups who say they support you, Mr. President?
Mr. President,
have you denounced them strongly enough?
A car plotting a group of people, would you call that terrorism, sir?
He ignored them.
President walking away from those questions there. David Wright joins us now. David, that statement from the president is drawing a lot of heat. The White House is now trying to clarify what he meant when he condemned violence, quote, on many sides.
And that's the phrase, Cecilia, that troubled a lot of people because it made the president's statement ambiguous. Many people heard it as him creating a moral equivalence between the white nationalists and the counter-protesters, blaming both. Well, tonight, the White House says the president was condemning hatred, bigotry, and violence from all sources and in all forms. Cecilia?
Okay, David, thank you. And tomorrow on This Week, George Stephanopoulos